Krishna, how are you? Dandavat Pranam to the Honorable Srila Prabhupada. How are you, Prabhu and Sorel?
Excellent. We decided to join forces for our debate today.
Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah. Okay.
Fix this window.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, you guys wrote good essays, huh? It's I gave you some comments. I guess you must have read them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead, Jacob.
Thank you for your feedback. We appreciate it.
Yeah, basically, the best is to, when you write an essay, especially two, you don't cover the same aim. Because otherwise it becomes redundant, So you take another aim like you did twice. The first essay was, obviously you intended to write on mood and mission, but it was actually more on understanding. And of course, if you want to become more familiarized with the aims and objectives, you read that document I sent you yesterday.
Yeah. After looking over that document and the criteria and the rubric for grading it, it was more clear to me that what you were looking for in each essay, depending on the aim.
Yeah. But again, I can understand you just joined, so that's why I was a bit lenient for the second grading.
Yeah.
Okay, let's sing, and while waiting for the others.
I don't know if anybody's in the waiting room.
Jaya Ram Madhava Jaya Kunjavi Hari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Girivardhari
Gopi Ganavallabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandanam Rajajadanandanam
Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana
Yashodanandanam Rajajadanandanam
Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana
Yamunatira Vanasali
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanasali Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Girivardhari
Gopiyanavalabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Girivardhari
Gopiyanavalabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Rajadarandana
Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana
Yashodanandana Rajadarandana
Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana
Yamunatira Vanashali
Yamunatira
Yamunatira
Vanachari
Vanashali
Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari
Hare Krishna. Oh, my grandson with me.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari
Gopiyana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari
Gopiyana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana.
Yashodanandana Rajadarandana
Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana
Yashodanandana Rajadarandana
Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana
Yamuna Tira Vanashali
Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram.
Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram.
Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai,
Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai.
Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya
Jaya
Subhadra,
Subhadra,
Jaya Radha Govinda Mother, Radha Govinda Mother, Shilade, Jaya
Jaya Radha Govinda Mata, Radha Govinda Mata, Radha Govinda Jaya Shri
Jaya
Radha.
Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Shri Radhe.
Prabhupada,
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 Prabhupada, Jaya
Prabhupada,
Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Haribol, Nitya Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitya Gaura Haribol.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Madhav ki jai.
Jai,
Krishna Balaram ki jai.
Jai,
Shri Gonitai ki jai.
Jai,
Shri Jagannath Baladev Srimati Subhadra ki jai.
Jai,
Shri Shopanishad ki jai.
Jai,
Sadhu Sat Sangha ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Swagatam, Swagatam. Swagatam, Suswagatam, Hare Krishna. Welcome. So I'm very happy to meet all of you again. It's been 2 weeks or so. And we are missing perhaps Sukumari here. Is she here?
I don't see her.
I don't see her, yeah. So what's going to happen to the debate? Then Vignesh is going to be the sole representative. Anyway,
Maybe she will come in some time.
Sorry?
Maybe she will come in sometime. I had spoken to her today.
Well, I'm sure you can take them all in. Huh? You can take them all against you. You're quite gifted. Okay, let's sing some prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjala Sharakaya Shakshu Militam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Samjivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Shritanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhasha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I'm just quickly going to send to contact Sukumari.
Kumari has, I think, joined. I think she's waiting in the waiting room.
Oh, sorry. It's my fault again.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's fine.
Okay. Okay, good. So anyone wants to venture as to a recap for last session you had with Chandra Prabhu? You got, which verse did you cover? 17 and 16 or? Okay, 16 and 17. You can briefly perhaps tie up the course one after the other. We can try to have do you start to have an overall picture of the book now?
Yeah.
I think I can detect that gradually you guys have no overview of the book. Yeah, that's basically that's one of the goal of this Bhakti Shastri. You should have a strong, solid overview of each and every book. And then even further, you should be able to have an overview of the 4 books once you finished. And obviously, you may have already detected that there's 2 pairs, Shri Yasho Gita and NOD, NOI. It's 2 pairs of books. Okay, Sukumari, she's here.
Yep.
Okay, we can. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay,
A
great.
second.
Yeah, better late than never.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone would like to give me a small recap on 16 and 17? What did you learn? What did you take home last week?
A good chunk of last week's class, at least the first half, Chandra Prabhu was bringing up the fall of the Jiva argument.
He likes this one, I know.
Yeah. And then he was referencing the story of Paranjana from 4th canto Srimad Bhagavatam in support of the Jiva originally finding his home in the spiritual world with Krishna and falling to the material world. Anyways, that was probably a good 3/4 of the class last week.
I see. Okay, but I mean, did it stick to the mantra under study at 17, 18? I mean, 17, 16.
Yeah, we definitely went over the mantras.
Okay. Yeah, because basically at this end of the book, you notice from 16, 17, 18, it's the practitioner, that is us, we are moving towards death. It's whether we want it or not, it could happen at any time. And we have to become ready by petitioning the Lord to remember. It may sound awkward. Someone is petitioning the Lord to remember what I've done for you. At first sight, I hope you address that. At first sight, it may sound fruitive. Is that the case? A devotee has been practicing all his life, and he's saying, I think it's in 17, I believe. He's saying, yeah, perhaps in 16, let's see. Please, 16, not 17 actually. Please remember all my sacrifices because you are the ultimate beneficiary. Please remember all that I have done for you. So at first sight, doesn't it sound a bit fruitive? I may be wrong, but I mean, I remember years ago when I read that the first time in my life, it sounded like that. So we can address that a little bit. Did he address that, Chandra?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's one of his question was about that.
Okay, so what did you answer?
Oh, like, I answer that we should always be in prayer mood and beg the Lord, beg the Lord to accept us because we are fallen soul, and without the mercy of the Lord, we cannot have him. So, and the Lord is within the heart. He should, he always like instruct us how to remember him if we are sincere. So
Yeah.
that mostly, I forgot others what I just said, but that
Yeah,
coming
sure.
back.
Anyone would like to add up to that? Why? I mean, it may sound fruitive at first sight, but why is it not? Actually, it's not the case. On which basis it is not the case? Vignesh, you want to add up anything on this point? 17.
I actually read answer this question in the last week. So I think it's the first question, right? Where is the devotee remember all its sacrifices? Okay. So basically, invoking the Lord to remember basically means to seek the mercy of the Lord, because Lord is all-knowing. So basically, cannot ask Lord to remember, but it's basically to seek the mercy of the Lord. I have actually, when I was going through the commentary, I just found one commentary of Madhvacharya that had quoted relevant verses from a scripture to explain this point.
Yes,
like,
what does he say?
Yeah, it's basically, I'll just mention the mantra. It says that Bhaktanam Smaranam Vishnur Nitya Gyapti Sarupatah Anugraha Unmukhatvam Tuna Eva Anyat Kvachit Ishyate. He says, invoking the Lord to remember his devotee and activities can only mean have mercy on the devotee. Because the Lord is eternally all-knowing. Further, he quotes some verses from Varaha Puran where he says, I remember my devotee who is dying like wood and stone and take him to the spiritual world. So it's like a request from a devotee, whether he's asking, do you remember? Do you not remember your devotee with mind full of affection? Then there is a reply to that by the Lord in the Vara Puran saying, I remember my devotee who is dying like the wood and stone and take him to the spiritual world. So I think it's the expression of bhakti bhav and not technically, because technically Lord remembers everything, but it's our emotion that we express so that we can seek the mercy of the Lord.
Excellent. This is exactly the point I wanted to bring forward. It's called bhakti rases. Out of love. Let's say I can take a very crude example. Your wife or your mother or your husband, if you're a woman, she has told you, please get this, get that. She has told you many times, but she's requesting you, please don't forget to buy this, So she's not being fruitive. It's out of love. Because she's counting on you to get this. She's counting on you. So out of love, because she has a strong relationship with you, you are very close to her. It could be your mother, your wife, your husband. So in the same way, the devotee has been sharing with the Lord all his life, and he's coming at the fag end of his life, and out of love, my Lord, remember we did that together. You sent me there, and I'm very much willing to see you now, so remember we did that together. And so like that, it's out of love. It's not being fruitive. Fruitive would be way down, way further down, like a karma kandi, they're doing things very fruitively to get access to swagalok, or you understand, it's a gulf of difference. It's out of love. Okay, anything else from 16, 17? Did you cover 2 or 1 mantra last time?
16, 17.
Okay. Anything you want to share before we move on to 18?
I mean, just to reiterate, again, in mantra 16, we see the language of please remove your effulgence of your transcendental rays, so that I can see your form of bliss. Pretty strong emphasis on the fact that there is an effulgence emanating from the form of Sri Krishna, which is blinding to the devotee, and that effulgence needs to be removed, and otherwise could be a hindrance to see the form of Krishna. Definitely.
Brahmano hi pratishtaham 1427, and this effulgence is the effulgence of his body. So the devotee is not bewildered by this. Most of the practitioners, especially from the lower category, they will stop there. They're enamored by this light, this energy, this heat, this, let's stop there. This is, I've seen God, I've seen the light. And so, but no, devotee is not bewildered. He carries on further because all his life, it's a two-way traffic. As a devotee, we are used to relationship with the Lord. It's nothing new for us. So even though he may apparently to befool us kindly and lovingly, he may exhibit his hiranmayana, his dazzling effulgence. We are not befooled. We know. So it's like a little of a play, He's playing with us. He's playing with his loving devotee. No, okay, Krishna, I've seen it. Thank you. Please, can you show me further? So it's like that. Everything is a source of bliss, source of exchange. The main thing in bhakti is exchange. We are individuals, we never met, but there's some kind of bliss because of the relationship stemming from studying Shastra together. If I was alone speaking to the wall, even though I know the whole book by heart, what's the use? There's no bliss, there's no sharing. So it's the same with Krishna. He wants bliss. Anandamoy Vyasat. Right? He wants to share. He wants to Eko Bahushyam. He is alone, but he wants to share his bliss. So in the same way, devotees are like this. Okay, so let's move on. 18, we're coming to an end. Agne Naya Supataraye Asman Vishvanidev Vayunani Vidvan Yuyu Yasma Juhuranam Heno Buyashtam Te Namoktim Videma. Go ahead, one or two of you can sing along. Go ahead.
Anyone? Yasman Vishwanideva Vayumani Vidvan Yuyodi Asma Juhuranameno Vuyistam Te Nama Uktim Videma.
Good. Translation.
O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress.
Yeah, excellent. So let's move to the questions. I didn't give you too many questions this time. So what's the main thrust of 18?
The main thrust of 18 is that one becomes perfect by surrendering fully to Krishna, and naturally the devotee's material coverings began to fall away as his saint-like qualities become magnified, such as like sense control and genuine faith in Krishna, as well as Krishna guides the devotee in two ways, externally through scriptures and spiritual teachers, as well as internally.
Yeah.
And
Okay. And you write down this bhakti path leads one to become a pure devotee.
I did write that.
Actually, I just commented on this one, on this last sentence. In one sense, of course, we haven't covered that much. It's not part of the book. We will see to that in Nectar of Devotion. Anyabilashita shunyam gyanakama navritam anukriyena krishnanu shiranam bhaktirutama. In one sense, we are already Uttam Bhakti practitioners. The path of Bhakti, as it has been delineated by Srila Goswami, it may take place within sadhana, Vedi, sadhana. Uttam Bhakti can also appear in Raganuga sadhana, bhav, and prem. So it doesn't mean that because we are practitioners, we are practicing, we are learning the process, that we are not practicing pure bhakti. You understand?
Yeah.
And we have to draw, it's a subtle demarcation. Oh, I will become a pure devotee once I've reached prem. No, this is not the philosophy. The philosophy is, as long as you stick to this verse, Anyabilashita shunyam ganakama navritam, anukuljana krishnanu shiranam bhaktirutama. This is definition of pure bhakti. You know that verse by any one of you?
Yeah, we heard it. I don't know.
It's 1:111 Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So what does that verse say? Anya abilashita shunyam ganakama navritam, anukuljana krishnanu shiranam bhaktirutama. So the first category of this verse is Anukulyana Krishnanu Shiranam Bhaktirutama. These are the Svarup Lakshana, the main characteristic. What is it? Anukulyana should be, your bhakti should be Anukulyana, means favorable, not like comes. Comes is practical. We don't want that kind of bhakti. Number two, Anukulyana Krishnanu Shiranam. So it should be favorably disposed, it's favorably practiced in terms of Vedi. So what are the Navanga Bhakti? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, Dasyam also. Nine Anga. So as long as you are favorably disposed, you try to cultivate properly your bhakti, trying to please the Lord by practicing Navanga Bhakti. These are the first two symptoms. Then back to the first line, Anya Bilashita Shunyam. Your Abilash means desire, should be none other than Jnana, Karma, and Navritam. It should not be uncovered. It should be uncovered by Gyan and Karma, etc. So you know what I'm saying? If you are practicing this path, attempting to come to that level, even though you may still be afflicted by your vasanas, your samskar, your imprints from previous life, your impressions due to nasty, sinful activities that we perform before joining, even from previous lives, we may still be afflicted by them. But still, if we stick to the Abilash, Anya Bilashita Shunyam, with our Abilash remains pure, my dear Krishna, please remove all these anarthas. It is nagging me. It is preventing me from accessing to you. That's pure bhakti. So you have to make a difference very clear here. It's not because you are still being afflicted by your vasanas, anarthas, samskar, material desires, that you're not practicing pure bhakti. You understand the subtlety there?
Yes.
Huh? So we're not Mishra Bhaktas. Mishra Bhaktas are defined by Kapil Dev in the third canto. It's different. Their Abhilash is different. What is the Abhilash of a Mishra Bhakta in the mode of goodness? He wants to stop suffering. He wants to get free. He wants to move out. He's not trying to please Krishna. That's very lofty, okay? It's some kind of a Jnana Mishra Bhakta, but it's Mishra. What is the Abhilash of a Mishra Bhakta in the mode of passion?
You want material stuff.
Yes, puja, pratishta, lob. He wants to be worshipped. He wants to be put on a pedestal. He's practicing bhakti for that matter. What is the state of affair for someone mixed with ignorance? That's heavy. He may want to kill someone by dint of practicing bhakti. I'm envious of him. May COVID kill him. Something like that. It's heavy. It's Mishra Bhakta. All these Mishra Bhaktas, their Abhilash is not the pure loving service of the Lord. That's the difference. Anyway, we are drifting away as usual. Sorry about that, but I just wanted to reassert this point. Do you agree, Vignesh?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm double checking with the pundit. Make sure I'm on track. Okay, let's move on. So the mantras definitely is there. We're coming to an end. We are surrendering ourselves fully and wholly. Okay, how does it fit in the Sri Show overview? I notice in general, you tend not to look at your manual. Only one person did. I think it's Sukumari.
I literally copied it.
Let's see. Sukumari. No, perhaps not Sukumari. Who else? Someone
Looked at it. I mean, I took a look. I copied
Yeah,
and
Jacob did it
pasted.
right. Jacob did it right. Mantra 18 is the concluding prayer of the devotee who desires to achieve Krishna's mercy. Full stop. That's it. He's right on the T. He's dying. It's a concluding prayer of the book. You look at your manual, it's full of good hints there. There's an overview and it tells you exactly what is in sum and substance, what's the mantra 18 all about. But in general, you guys kind of rephrase the whole thing properly. Like Sukumari, she did a good job, good recap. Gokulananda Priya. Yeah, you go a little bit all over the place, but stick to the manual, Okay. Okay, now what's the difference between Smarta Vidhi and Goswami Vidhi? You understand those two concepts? I think you kind of definitely hit the nail properly. Again, Smarta Vidhi, what is it?
Caste conscious.
Yeah.
Mentality, saying that the only requirement for belonging to a caste is one's birth.
Yes. What does Krishna say in the Gita in this regard?
In chapter 18, he delineates the fact that actually it's one's qualifications which determines one's caste.
Yes. And way back, because chapter 18 of the Gita is the recap of the whole book, way before in 4:13, remember? Shatuvana maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. That's it. Gunakarma vibhagashaha means divisions. Divisions according to what? Guna and karma. It doesn't say according to blood, according to parentage. No. Krishna has set up the ball right way back, 52 centuries ago, according to Guna Karma. Unfortunately, this is a state of affair in mankind that tend to dilute for the sake of vested interest. The Brahminical power tend to become corrupted. No, we hold on, we have access to, we have a monopoly on knowledge because we know Sanskrit. It happened the same in Europe in the Middle Ages because they knew Latin. The priests, the clergy, they would maintain a close, tight hand on Latin texts because they knew if we can not spread this knowledge, then we will remain the, how do you call it, the key holders of that treasure, of knowledge, of religion. And because of that, they started to exploit. And then they fell down. They fell down in the Middle Ages. The Vatican started to become disrespected by the kings of Europe because they were not pure. They lost their purity.
Abu, is that one of the historical reasons for the appearance of Gautama Buddha?
Yeah, so now you're going way, way back, 25. First of all, there's two Buddhas. There's Adi Buddha, who came about 35 centuries ago, who was Vishnu Tattva. When we sing the song of Dashavatara Stotra Jayadev Goswami in the 12th century, we are referring to Adi Buddha actually. We are not worshipping, as devotees, we're not worshipping the second Buddha. We are worshipping the first Buddha. Then 1000 later came Siddhartha Gautama, is a Jiv. This one, he preached, he attained enlightenment in Gaya, I believe. And he preached ahimsa. Well, the Buddhism is a bit different. They both basically, yes, actually, you kind of right also, because what happened after as soon as Krishna left, Krishna Svadamupagate Damagyan Dibihi Saha Kalonashta Drishanesha Puranarko Dunoditaha. As soon as Krishna left, he took away with him religion, tolerance, austerity, all the godly qualities left with Krishna, except Srimad Bhagavatam, who is none different from Krishna. So what happened because of Kali Yuga progressing and the Brahmin lost their purity and they went through the motions of performing yagyas and home and whatnot. But I'm just making a long story short. After some time, they lost the purity and they started to offer food, stuff, and eating the remnants. And gradually they introduced meat within the foodstuff being offered. And they started eating meat. So it was a total perversion of the Brahminical culture. Buddha came, for that matter, first one, Vishnu Tattva, 1000 years later, Jiv Tattva, Gautama, Siddhartha. Same story, ahimsa. That's Smarta. Remember, the Smarta tried to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They tried to kill him. It's not, yeah. There's a story behind it. They try to kill. So they are not happy when devotees, what does devotee preach? What's the philosophy of the devotees, of the Gaudiya Vaishnava? In opposition to Smarta, it's called Goswami Vidhi. What's the meaning of Goswami Vidhi?
Your place in society is determined by your qualifications.
Exactly. Exactly. What is the verse? Can you give some reference from Sri Isho or elsewhere? Because that's one of the main point of contention between Smarta Vidhi and Goswami Vidhi. Remember this? Yes, go ahead.
You say, I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Grihastha, I'm not a...
Yeah, true.
I'm not a... I'm just a servant of Krishna, Gopi, Bharti, Padakama,
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Vignesh, you have some good quotes for this?
Not
I'm
correct.
thinking of one verse of Upadeshamrit, you know, having to do with the muddy waters of the Ganga. Trying to remember the verse. You have some good quotes, Vignesh, on the dichotomy between Goswami Vidhi and Smarta Vidhi. Or Sukumari, if you are. Let's see. You know that, what is that verse, Vignesh, on Padeshamrit? I'm forgetting it now. Having to do with the Ganga, you know, being, it looks like it's polluted, the Ganga water are polluted, but actually no, they're not polluted. Similarly, a devotee, even though it may appear polluted by his previous habits, he remains pure. Upadeshamrit, let's see. Yeah, it's right here.
6.
6, you're right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, okay, this is the verse. Huh? This is Upadeshamrit number 6.
Yeah. See,
Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Remember, Narottam Das Thakur was not a Brahmin by birth. He was a Kayashta. Kayashta means it's a sub class of a Kshatriya. He was heavily decried in his own time by his contemporaries. He's a Mahabhagavat. He's a Manjari. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee as having a body born in a low family. Rupa Goswami is talking. A body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a disease or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee. But despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted, exactly like the Ganga water. You may see even cadavers in the Ganga. I have seen humans, beef, ox, cows. Is the water polluted? No. It's coming straight from the Lord's lotus feet, basically. So this is the study at hand. Big difference between Smarta Vidhi and Goswami Vidhi. Goswami Vidhi is based on Atma Dharma, Atma Gyan. That is why Srila Prabhupada was heavily criticized, even by his godbrothers. Heavily criticized. When you'll come to Upadeshamrit study, you will see in one purport is saying out and clear, even my godbrothers criticize me. They're just ringing the bell. It's quite heavy. It's quite heavy. He's saying they're just ringing the bells. Then they don't understand the activity of preaching, worldwide taking risk. Prabhupada took a heavy risk, heavy. He was heavily criticized, heavily. This is Goswami Vidhi. Goswami Vidhi, they take risk. Look at Lord Jesus. Yes, go ahead.
Also, Srila Prabhupada accepted, like people didn't come from a Brahmana family and makes them into Brahma, gave them Brahman thread, and gave women Brahman initiation. So
exactly. Prabhupada didn't intend even to give women initiation when he came to New York. You know that, 65, 66. Only because the American ladies are loud voice, they just complain. What about us? Because actually in Shastra, if the lady is duly married, she shares 50%. Doesn't have to be initiated. What do you speak of the giving sannyas to Videshis, to white? It's unheard of. It was criticized heavily. Plus, they were falling. So the opposition was somewhat right in their assumption. He took a heavy risk, heavy risk. They don't understand the intent of a Mahabhagavad. Vaishnavila Kriyamudra Vigena Bujai. Even the most intelligent cannot fathom the understanding, the mind, the intelligence of a pure devotee. No one, even the most intelligent. What to speak of a smarta? They are set up in their own ways. They don't have the full, it's called niyamagraha. We will discuss that in Upadeshamrit. And they're just attached to the rules, so much so that they have lost the goal to be attained. Just like you, go ahead.
Haridas Thakur.
Yes, exactly.
Haridas Thakur come from a Muslim background,
Exactly.
And he's an amacharya, And Lord Chaitanya personally cremated him. And
exactly. Mahaprabhu was way before Gandhi. Mahaprabhu was the real revolutionary fellow. He created a movement of civil disobedience way back, 16th century. 1 lakh people came up way before Gandhi. He was a strong revolutionary. He came to dismantle the rigid caste system, which has been prevalent for centuries, millennia, ever since Lord Krishna left. I told you they tried to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. So we should be quite equipped for this. There's 3 things that killed India: the Smartas, the Mayavadis, and the Shaktas. These are the 3 plights. Not only India, the whole universe, the whole Brahman. In terms of religion, those 3 plights have destroyed Sanatana Dharma. Not destroyed because Sanatana Dharma is always reviving, because it's the very nature of the soul. But still, they try to do away with it. Smartas, Mayavadis, the Shaktas. Shaktas means they worship the Shakti. They consider the Shaktis are as good as Shaktimam. Shaktimam is Krishna. Yes, Shakti, Shaktimatayo Abeda. It's non-different, but it's different also. I change your bed, Okay, anything else you want to add up on this Smarta against Goswami Vidhi?
Prabhupada, some devotees might be of the opinion that currently ISKCON is in sort of a rigid iteration, and that I was wondering what your opinion on, if we look back at the history of Vaishnavism, it seems that acharyas took risks and were, as you explained, did the needful. I was wondering if you feel in our current age that we might, or in the future rather, that devotees might look back at our current age and see similar things happening. If there are certain gurus or leaders within ISKCON who are taking risks and challenging the kind of rigid authority structure of the day, and that we are currently in a process as a society of shifting to a new approach.
Yes. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada warned us not to become over-institutionalized. He said, don't become like the Christians. The Christianity has become like a monolithic, super heavy monolithic type of structure. You have seen the size of Christianity. Plus, on top of that, it has splintered into so many sub-entities. It has obviously diminished, weakened the impact of Christianity. Because of that, they have splintered. So yes, you're right, Jacob. We should not fall into the trap. Srila Prabhupada warned us heavily. Don't make it a central autocratic organization. Let independence flourish. Each temple should flourish on its own. There's GBC, but the most important position is not GBC. Prabhupada, what is the most important position in this country, you know? Temple president. Prabhupada said this. The most important position is temple president. That is why after GBC meeting, have you seen what they do? They submit the minutes, the what you call it, resolutions to the temple president. Do you guys agree with this? Let's discuss. So yes, very, very good point, Jacob. We have to be careful. We don't. Number two, we have also to be careful not to become too much Indianized. That's also there. I've been 12 years in India. I've got an Indian passport even, OCI. I've seen. We have to be very careful with that. Nowhere do we see Srila Prabhupada having an Indian approach. Why the Videshis like me and others, we got attracted? If Srila Prabhupada had told us 30 years ago, 35 years ago, yes, this is a very much fashionable Indian religion, who would have bought it? I wouldn't have bought it. No way. Why did I get attracted? Because it's Atma Dharma, Atma Gyan. We're not the body. I mean, I was enamored. I mean, and I thought, well, I was very much enamored by the concept of Jivatma. You know, we are distinct. That blew me away. We are distinct from God. We are distinct from one another. We have our own free will. Make sure you make good use of it. Never did it ever click to me that it's got an Indian connotation. Because first of all, when Lord Krishna came in India, it was not even called India. It was called Bharatvarsh. And Bharatvarsh, it's part of Jambudvip. And Jambudvip is part of Bhumandal. Where's the Indian connotation of India in all these things? So I mean, I got blown away because I understood. Well, I'm understanding the geography of the universe here. Bharatvarsh, you know, it's expand your consciousness really big time. So we have to be very careful. Yes, a very good point. We don't fall into the trap. And of course, it's tricky because for the sake of becoming acknowledged by governments, you know, it's an easy way. We are Hindus. Okay, you're Hindus. Okay, please come. But strictly speaking, okay, you may play with that. I know Chandra is very keen on this one. He's going to say, you know, Vaishnavism is part of Hinduism, so we are well and good. But ultimately, the soul has nothing to do with Hinduism. Hinduism is a man-made word created by the Muslim. Where do you find Hindu in the Gita, in the Bhagavatam? Nowhere. We are different from the body. So yes, I agree with you. We should be wary. We should be quite wary of that. Be cautious. Let's not fall into the trap of the Christians and so many big monolithic religions, mainstream. That is why we have to preach. Depending how you preach. If you preach, you know, you can go to the manor, you can go to practically everywhere in the world. I don't know about Tucson, but lots of Indians. And if you're not careful, which is great because Prabhupada said if you scratch the Indian body, bhakti is right underneath. It's great. I mean, we cannot deny it's a higher birth. Bharata Bhumite Hela Manusya Janma. Yes, Janma, definitely it's a higher birth. But at the same time, that was not the intent of Srila Prabhupada, the mood and mission. Prabhupada went to Kenya. Bhamanand Maharaj in those days had arranged huge pandal. Nairobi is full of Indians, especially in those days. Huge, thousands. Prabhupada said, where are the blacks? Where are the blacks? I didn't come here to get Indians. I get blacks. I get Indians all over the place. Get the blacks. So Brahmananda got the point. And next time he got the blacks. I remember when I joined it, it was different. You know, we used to go out and preach. If Indian comes along, find anyone. Yeah, okay. Ask Mama. So this is a very good point, Jacob. We have to be careful. Huh? Maya is very tricky. Maya is very tricky. Huh? Individually and collectively, globally, Maya can attack also, different ways. Okay. So is it clear? So Goswami video, Smarta video, okay. Pravritti Marg, Nivritti Marg. It's basically the same topic presented differently. Someone made a big mistake here. Gokulananda Priya. I want to discuss about that. Okay, please explain. You do it, Gokulananda Priya. Explain the two paths. In this purport of 18, there's two paths being delineated.
The Pravritti Marg and the Nivritti.
Yeah, so please explain. Pravritti Marg, you got it right.
Is that about karma and vikarma?
Yeah, because okay, please explain first Karma Kanda.
The karma kanda path is the fruitive activities.
Yeah.
That people which lead to self-realization. And karma kanda is not considered the best one. It's considered one of the lower part. Lower path.
Yeah. So Pravritti Marg means basically it's a long haul. You use the Vedic literature, Vedic culture to satisfy your material desires within the range of Vedic pursuit. And there's so many, 96% of the Vedas are dealing with Karma Kanda. And it's valid also for all mainstream monotheistic religion. So you can find ample evidence to fulfill your desires within the frame of the Vedic paradigm. Yes. But Prabhupada said, did you notice what he says in 18? Did you notice? A little mistake and you fall into vikarma. So it's a long haul, a long detour. Then once you're fed up with material life, you move on to Gyanakand. Then you refer to Upanishad. You want to remember the story. Remember way back I discussed about the image of the fire extinguisher. Remember? Long back, I think the first class. Remember, Jacob? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Sorel?
Yes, you sent us some illustration about it.
Yeah, I sent you an illustration. The fire extinguisher, what is it for? You're meant to clear a pathway through the flames. The flames, it's burning. Samsara dava nalalila. It's burning. We know that. Even more so now with COVID. So we want to clear, we want to get away. But we're not only Gyanis, Gyanakandis. We clear out, okay? We pass away the flames, the Upanishad, you get out, okay? But what do you do outside of the flames, outside the fire? What do you do? That's bhakti. Bhakti takes you not only outside the flames, but way into the back into the spiritual world. What do you do there? What do you do in the spiritual world? So we are being taught that yes, Krishna is there from day one, even down here in the material world. We revive Sambandha Jnana relationship with him, and then once we are fit, especially if we stick to Uttam Bhakti as defined by Rupa Goswami, then we are transferred. This is the goal of 18. We are transferred. Krishna says in the Gita, I come down swiftly, I rescue him. It's not even ourselves. It's not even our own endeavor. We are being rescued. Just like the kitten, even the mother tiger, she will carry very cautiously the small baby tiger. She's so powerful, but yet very cautiously with her teeth even. So in the same way, we are being rescued at the time of death. But here, I didn't understand Gokulananda Priya. The other path is Vikarma.
I think I got it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it's badly. I mean, it's way totally
Yeah.
wrong. Okay, someone explain Nivritti Marg. Sukumari, it's your turn. I didn't hear you today.
Well, I mean, you
Go ahead.
kind of mentioned it already a little bit when you just talked about practicing bhakti. Just now, it's like taking the shortcut. Prabhupada talks about immediately taking to bhakti, surrendering to Krishna, and engaging in devotional service, and then Krishna takes away all the sinful reactions, which then comes to mind now means the sinful desires as well. And then there is no possibility of acting sinful, of like slipping into the vikarma, as it is with the karma kanda. I mean, so it's like it's quicker and it's safer, basically,
Okay.
if one takes directly to bhakti, because the aim is bhakti with the pravritti marga, I would say as well. Like the end goal is like bhakti too. But if you
Yes.
take to bhakti directly, devotional service, then it's way quicker because you start immediately.
Yes. So now I'm going to be the devil's advocate, and I'm going to quote Bhakti Raghav Maharaj. You know him, Bhakti Raghav Maharaj? He's got one leg. Extremely adamantly keen on setting up Vanashram. He has been working for decades on this. I was listening to his class on Vanashram as usual. And he quoted Prabhupada. Prabhupada sometimes equates Vanashram with Sanatana Dharma. So much Prabhupada was so keen to establish Vanashram, because the point of Maharaj, Bhakti Raghav Maharaj, is saying, whether we want it or not, Vanashram is having to do with our guna karma. We are sadakas, but as we know, we're not pure. We are still being bombarded by our previous samskar, vasanas, anarthas. They tend to, sometimes we succumb even. Krishna says to Krishna in the 11th canto. Again, it doesn't mean we are not practicing Uttam Bhakti. But the point of Raghav Maharaj is we have to find our spot within Vanashram. And that is why on and on, Srila Prabhupada reminded us, move back to a rural setting. Move back to simple life, work tilling the land with cows. Because this society is going to crumble apart. So, I mean, Bhakti Raghav Maharaj, in one sense, is opening my eyes on this point, because, you know, we may say, well, you know, there's Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatrika Vidhi, okay? In one sense, some people argue, well, just chant Hare Krishna, and that's fine. Yeah, he wants to say hello. He's a very curious boy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This is Haritoshan.
Boy.
Mention your name.
Tu t'appelles?
Mention your name. He hardly speaks English. I'm trying to teach English to him, but comment tu t'appelles?
Comment tu t'appelles?
Haritoshan. So you have to speak English to them. They don't speak French. Huh? You do? Oh, sorry.
Très bien.
Je pratique pas mal.
Vous parlez un
Parce
peu?
que
Good. Okay. Yeah, he's a nice boy. But 7 years.
Comment ça va?
Ça va?
Hare Krishna.
Tu vois,
Ça
elle
va
parle
bien?
français. You have to speak
Oui.
English to them.
Ça va
Well,
bien?
Allez. He's playing with a lamp in his pen. Allez, to give the class Haritoshan. Go and play with Luca, okay?
little seeker. Cute.
So basically, this is the point. It kind of opened my eyes because, we may say, well, we channel Krishna, we study Bhagavatam, we teach, and why do we need Varnashram? And actually, the 64 Bhakti Angas do not contain Varnashram. Varnashram is not accepted as a Bhakti Anga by Rupa Goswami. But the point of Bhakti Raghav Maharaj, he says, inevitable. That is why Prabhupada say you have to set it up. You have to set it up just for the sake of helping others. Not everyone is going to become temple life devotee, chanting 16 rounds, 4 ranks. No. And it is true that rural life will be conducive to setting up the Varnashram. We cannot, big cities and urban preaching, love preaching, like Devamrit Maharaj is doing, is great. But at one point, that may disappear. That may disappear. Especially the big cities may disappear. Prabhupada said, this collapse is inevitable. So unless and until we have also, alongside with our preaching, we prepare communities, that is why Nimayapur is so important here. Because Prabhupada said, you will see people flocking by thousands. Please give me some food. I can do anything you want. What is your philosophy? I'm coming with my kids and my wife. Can I do anything you want? It may come to that. May come to that. Prabhupada predicted the downfall of this civilization. We cannot say, well, it's just figurative embellishment, literary embellishment. No, Prabhupada said, sooner or later it will collapse. So then Varnashram will be needed because then you have to live off the farm. I mean, we can have some discussion on this point because I want to get your feedback. I mean, some devotees don't agree with this. Bhakti Raghav Maharaj explained a lot. He says, I have lots of opposition, even amongst my god brothers and sisters. What is your standpoint, Vignesh?
Like every person has a different inclination. So I think the point of entire Varnashrama is to engage that inclination in the service of the Lord. Like ultimately, Varnashrama is for there is a scripture which says the Varnashrama is for serving Lord Vishnu. Like everyone has their own guna, own activity inclination, whether it's Kshatriya, Brahmana. Not everyone can become a Brahmacharya. As you rightly said, not everyone can stay in a temple. So even if it's a Kshatriya or even if it's some business magnate, but he has to engage in his own day-to-day activity. At the same time, have some system that he can ultimately use it as a service, as an offering to Lord. So I think it's a very natural thing that everyone is an individual. So everyone will have its own individual inclination and differences. So they have to employ it ultimately in the service of the Lord.
Okay, so you say you are a pro Varnashram fellow. How do you consider it is necessary?
Yes, I think it's natural.
Natural.
Even if you don't establish it in a very systematic way, like in terms of farm community or otherwise, even it is natural other way around as well. Ultimately, it will. No, people are anyway have their own inclination. They will go in that particular way. But point of Varnashrama is to engage our inclination in the form of in a very right manner in service of the Lord.
Sure. Exactly. So this is basically the topic under study here. Pravritti Marg, Nivritti Marg. One time Prabhupada also gave an example. There was one devotee mopping the floor. And Prabhupada grabbed them up and he said, you don't know how to mop the floor. So can you imagine? And Prabhupada is mopping the floor himself. And then he goes, did I become a mopper? He's looking at devotees and devotees are baffled. Prabhupada said, no, but I'm showing him how to mop. In the same way, he says, in the same way, we have to institutionalize the Varnashram for the sake of showing them how to function within it. But ultimately, we are on the level of Atma Dharma. So yes, we are jivas, we are spirit souls. But still, it will be necessary. Many devotees, we have seen even full-fledged devotees having difficulty with their vows, because perhaps they were not ready for initiation. There's about 1 lakh devotees initiated on planet within ISKCON. And how many people are practicing chanting Hare Krishna? Perhaps a few millions, 1 crore, I don't know. So it means what to do with them. So they are making advancements, but they want to be set up in their own, so they can grow. Not everyone will become initiated because Prabhupada didn't dilute many other Indians called Smarta again. In order to attract the Videshis, the whites, they say, no, it's okay, 4 rounds or whatever, it's just come, I'll give you initiation. Prabhupada was strict. Prabhupada said one time, if I didn't push the illicit sex principle, I would have had lakhs. Lakhs means 100,000 is 1 lakh. I would have had lakhs of disciples. Prabhupada initiated 10,000 only. And even that, you can see who's practicing from those 10,000. So for those who cannot reach that bar, Varnashram is so important. And more things are going, more Kali Yuga is unfolding, more things are collapsing, more it will be urgently necessary. That's the point of Bhakti Raghav Maharaj. We have to pave the way for this moment to happen, because it will happen. It cannot go on forever. Okay, so let's see in terms of questions, what is there to be left? Yeah, so there's 2, and there's 2 paths delineated in 18. One is the karma, the karma kanda, the pravritti marg, and the other is full surrender.
So in one lecture also, I was just seeing in the database, Prabhupada was telling, like we have to bring people to from pravritti marg, and gradually they will come to nivritti marg. Pravritti marg means some sense gratification, and nivritti marg means no sense gratification.
Yes.
And Prabhupada gives example of like people like to eat meat, and you cannot stop them there. So that's why in the Vedas it is mentioned that you just kill a smaller animal instead of killing.
Yeah, very good point. It's called Varnashram College. Prabhupada one thing we haven't done in ISKCON is Varnashram College. You have to teach people how to act within their Varna. Shudra is a very high level type of position. If you look at the end of the 7th canto, Narada Muni is preaching to Yudhishthira Maharaj. He delineates the 9 qualities of a Shudra. 9 qualities of a Shudra. No one fits. If you take anyone on the street, no one fits. We are, actually in the West, we are Chandalas, Yavanas, Mlech. We are below Shudra. We are outcast. Shudras, according to Narad Muni in 7th canto, is high. It's a lofty position. They have 9 qualities. So definitely, according to Varnashram culture, Brahmins are in the center of the village, then Kshatriya protects Vaishya, and on the outskirts you find the Shudras. And they have a different type of living. They may eat meat, like you say, Mataji. They may go even see prostitutes. But that's part of Varnashram culture. We have to accommodate everyone. And Prabhupada had a very far-going vision that's going to last 10,000 years. We'll be gone. We'll be back perhaps or elsewhere. He's paving the way for a long time. He said, at one point you have to set up an ashram. Not everyone will be able to follow like you. Even amongst yourself, not everyone follows like you. We find many discrepancies. One time they made a survey in his country. It was an incognito survey. It was a, how do you say, anonymous. Who's following the principle?
Correct.
Sorry?
I couldn't understand you, so I was asking what you said. So you're saying that it was an anonymous quiz of who was following the 4 regulative principles.
Yeah, and they of course, it was totally anonymous. They didn't reveal the outcome, but they asked amongst the Grihasthas, and it was not a very strong figure, I can tell you. So, it means many devotees got initiated. They had no choice. They wanted to be part of the system, but they have difficulty. And doesn't mean they're bad devotees. They're just the adhikar is not there. Perhaps if the Varnashram had been implemented, perhaps they would have taken a different stand altogether. So they were pushed into it, and they're trying to maneuver as much as they can. But Krishna says 3:5. Everyone is bound to act according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes. You cannot derail from that. As long as you are a sadhaka, as long as you stick to that verse 1:11. Yes, my dear Lord, I'm trying to. It's not easy. I'm trying to stick to what you're saying. I'm carrying on favorably, disposing myself towards you. I'm not resorting to karma or gyan. No, I pray to you. I know you can fulfill my desires, but while doing so, it's difficult. But you carry on. So you are well situated. And sooner or later, kriti sadhya bhavata sitasya, the verse is there that by practicing Vedi Bhakti will come to Bhav. This is very clear.
Yeah,
So
I also
now,
heard one
yes.
example Srila Prabhupada gave, like when devotee were preaching in Africa and people, they were not, they didn't want to take Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada say, you just distribute prasadam, give them prasadam.
Exactly.
And also just chant, do Harinam. That's the only way you can gradually bring these people to Krishna consciousness.
Exactly. Prabhupada said in Africa, you preach Panchatattva mantra. You tell them to chant Panchatattva mantra. It's more powerful than mantra Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
And devotees were telling me, even in Africa, when Prabhupada would give the class, the African devotees, they're grabbing mosquitoes and eating during the class. It's a different culture altogether. And Prabhupada said, where's my dhoti? Where's my kurta? And one devotee is wearing the kurta of Prabhupada. Can you imagine? It's a different culture. Prabhupada had to undergo many things. He said, wow, they even sticking my own kurta on the strings. This is mercy. This is mercy. This is kripa. Prabhupada went to Africa and he had to bear. I know, he had to bear. He told Brahmananda, you preach Panchatattva mantra. Give prasad. Yeah. They like to dance, give prasad. No philosophy. No philosophy, give prasad. Dance. So he had to adjust. All these people will, if Varnashram is important, they will be properly situated, at least within the Vedic paradigm. And gradually, after 1 or 2 lives, they'll come to, the 4 ranks and all these things. So the last question, he can give directions to his sincere devotees by which they can attain the right path. Such directions are especially offered to devotees, even if he desires something else. That's the key part. What's the meaning of that? It means, obviously, the devotee, the practitioner, he may not be willing even to surrender fully and wholly. So what does Krishna do then?
So in that Bhagavatam verse, I believe, did you link it? Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 42nd verse.
Yeah.
A direct quote from there. It says, however, due to the powerful influence of material nature, even a sincere devotee may be temporarily overwhelmed by illusion and deviate from the rigid path of pure devotional service. In such a case, Lord Krishna himself, acting within the heart, removes such simple activities. And then further in that same verse, Krishna is compared to a father who knows the good intentions of the child and forgives the child for his or her mistakes. In the purport, rather, not the verse.
So exactly, see, it again adds up evidence to what I was saying earlier on, that even though you may be still, your practice is feeble, at times you may be a little dodgy, but Prabhupada says right here, he removes such sinful activity. If we carry on, as a sadhaka, as a practitioner, being afflicted by, if we carry on, gradually Krishna will benedict us with pure bhakti. We can practice pure bhakti on the level of sadhana, on the level of raganuga, which is also sadhana, by the way, on the level of bhav, and on the level of prem. It's just a matter of inspiration. In the beginning, Vedi, where do we take our inspiration? We take our inspiration from Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. And after that, on the level of Raganuga, we take our inspiration from Lolyam. We want to follow Ragatmika Bhakta. We want to follow a group leader in Vrindavan. We want to become like them. We have a strong aspiration to follow in their footsteps. But it's all pure bhakti. It's all pure bhakti. The difference is the inspiration. But even we can be pure bhakti from day one, as long as you stick to that verse, 1:1:11, Anyabilashta Shunyam. That's a very important point. I'm going to give a seminar here because I can see devotees are getting mixed up. Oh, I'm fallen, so I'm a Mishra Bhakta. No. The shortcut. Okay.
Just to add, Prabhu, I recently was listening to a class by His Holiness Hridayananda Das Goswami, where he goes into another verse from the 11th canto, this and 20th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it says, having awakened faith in the narrations
exactly.
of my
this is
being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities.
Yeah.
And I personally, I'm far from perfect in my devotional practice, and hearing these verses from Bhagavatam really helps me to reconcile those times when I'm not feeling so steady, and trust that I am on the right path, and that as long as I continue my worship of Krishna and my sincere desire to serve him, that I'll be gradually I'll let go of those lower tendencies.
Exactly. This verse is a very good choice, Jacob. These two verses back to back. Those two verses have been selected by Rupa Goswami to edify this claim. Because you will see when we come to NOD. I'm doing NOD a lot with a French group now. So this is exactly the right evidence to ascertain that, yes, a practitioner, even though he may succumb at times, not willfully, but unintentionally, like 930, Apichetu Daracharo, he remains well situated within Bhutam Bhakti. As a very helpful, like you say, for yourself, it's a great source of encouragement. It's like a child, it's falling, okay, get up, please, come forward. Okay, so now let's...
Can I add something?
Yes, Sorel?
I was gonna say it's kind of I feel like there's a fine line though. Like you said, it has to not be willfully falling,
Yes.
or because I feel like sometimes then it could be like, oh well, it's just a one-time kind of mistake, or it's just a this, and so it doesn't mean that I'm actually like straying too far. But it's like if you're intentionally thinking that and still intentionally making the mistake, I feel like that's such a thin. It's that tightrope, like because then you're kind of just using it as an excuse, like, oh well, I'll do better next time. Oh, well, I'll do better next time. Oh, well, I'll do better next time. It's okay. It's okay. And I'm like,
Yeah, so it's a very good point. 930 is there, and Prabhupada says unintentionally means not premeditated.
Yeah.
But I can give you examples. Comes to mind. One time, I agree with Prabhu. He left long back, 89. So practically he's the first devotee. I mean, he met Prabhupada in 65 in the street. Prabhupada was lonely. ISKCON was not even created. It was way back. You're talking about Dr. Mishra's ashram and those days, right fresh from the boat. And he bumped into him on the street of New York, and he became one of the first disciples. I agree with Prabhu. Doctor in Ohio University, English teacher. I mean, quite good command of English, but still very much, he became very Krishna conscious. But he had some bad habits, having to, in those days, the way hippies, LSD, and all that stuff, So unfortunately, he maintained some drug habits, even after being initiated. Papa knew, and at one point he warned him, it was in India actually, he warned him that, okay, that's it. 3 times more, you're out. So, and sure enough, he committed more than 3 times the same mistake, drug addiction. And he just told him straight in the face, you're out, finish, story is over. And Giriraj was not Maharaj in those days. Giriraj, he mentioned the story, Giriraj Prabhu in those days. And he was there. He witnessed the scene. So Hayagriv is leaving the room and is quite dejected, you can well imagine. He was, at the same time, he was a good devotee in his own sense. He did a lot for Srila Prabhupada. Those pioneers, devotees, they are irrepressible. What they have done, they helped Prabhupada from day one. So then Giriraj was taken aback because he had visualized someone being rejected by Prabhupada. That's unheard of. Then Hayagriv comes out, and then Giriraj asked, is it true you are rejecting him? And even Giriraj is taken aback, cannot believe. Prabhupada said, no, Guru can never reject disciple. So Prabhupada is so much full of mercy, but he didn't tell him straight in the face. So it's you're right, Sorel, you're very right. You're very right. And that is why we cannot expect everyone to go back home in the same batch. Not because we are 5 or 6 of us, does it mean, oh yes, we're going to all go back together in the same year, same life? No, not necessarily. It doesn't mean we're going to be rejected, but still it's going to slow down the process, just like if you try to ignite a fire and you pour water in one hand and fire the other hand. It's going to take a long, long time. But at the same time, Krishna is very sharp. He knows this guy is slow understanding, is dull. This lady, this devotee is dull. So I'm going to make his path a little bit gruesome, full of encumbrances. And then after so much suffering, he's going to get the point. Because unfortunately, sorry to say, but suffering is the last call to redeem the wayward living entity, even devotees. First type intelligence means I tell you, you click, finish. Who's got that type of intelligence? Tell me, even within ISKCON. It's only, that is why globally, collectively, you have seen what we're going through now. In France, it's so hellish. They're saying it's imposed. The bloody vaccine is imposed now. It's a biological weapon even. It's not even a vaccine. We are one of the, they told everyone, you please get it. Otherwise you're out. You're out of you will be kicked you out from your job. Well, you won't be kicked out. You won't be paid. People are crying. I mean, they're night. You can see the scene here. It's hellish. It's demonic. And it's against the law. It's against the French law. It's against the European law. They don't give a damn. This is how bad it is. So we are moving towards difficult times. But again, you may say, well, okay, but it has been approved by Lord Krishna, 1323. I witness, I consent, I supervise. So yes, it's consented by Krishna. Krishna has something in mind. Perhaps he wants to reform or redeem the humanity in his own ways. So suffering is there. It's part of the reforming process, unfortunately. Is that okay?
Jacob,
Sorel?
you quote these two verses. Can you please repeat it?
Yeah, go ahead, Jacob. These are great verses.
What
great,
is
great verses. 1, 11, 20, go ahead.
11, 20, 27 through 28.
Yeah, it's excellent verses. They have been ascertained by Rupa Goswami and NOD also. Okay, let's get into the debate. Did you guys, Vignesh and Sukumari, liaise with one another? Or?
Really, we just changed some words,
Okay.
but we didn't like plan out all.
Anyway, let's
strategy.
have it. Let's. So I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna change my hat now.
20 minutes.
So we're having here on Sudarshan TV channel nationwide. We have on stage. It's. I just remind the audience. I know millions of people are watching live. Welcome to all of you. And we have the great opportunity and privilege to host right on the stage. We have ISKCON devotees, I believe 2 or 3 of them. And we have the great stalwart impersonal school. I can invite on stage Vivarta Acharya. Please come forward, Vivarta Acharya. And we have Avidya Goswamini, also who came along. She's a Goswamini, she's a Sannyasini. So I'm very happy to host you. And basically, we have organized this program here live on TV, Sudarshan TV, because there's a great, for centuries, there have been confrontations in amongst those 2 schools of opinions. The Vaishnav means Vishnu. You guys are more into a personalistic approach. God is a person, Vishnu, I believe, or Krishna. And on the other hand, those 2 great stalwart spiritualists, we have Vivarta Acharya and Avidya Goswamini. They are more advocating I would say the light, the impersonal approach. So I think it will be very much relevant if you can discuss. I'll give you some themes before we start, because again, people are baffled and confused, and coming from you are all stalwart practitioners in your respective schools. If you could please shed some light. Myself, I have to admit, I'm quite also confused. That's not my job. I'm a TV guy. And I'd like also to be told what is ultimately the truth. So I will start with, perhaps, we have people from America here. There are Vaishnavas from America. We have I guess they're also Indian descent, so they must be knowing the truth also. First of all, my first question would be, is the absolute truth only reserved to the Indians? Because I know in India there is great reservoir of knowledge and the Vedas. So is it only the privilege of the Indians to access the absolute truth? And we will ask first Avidya Goswamini to shed some light on this. And please feel free to also share with Vivarta Acharya.
I'm really terrible with this.
Basically, it's a simple question. My question is,
Yeah.
is it only reserved to Indians?
No, of course not. It's
Okay.
It's for everybody.
Yes.
So like everybody in the world got the right to this knowledge
Yes.
and this practice.
Okay. But is it open to women? I was quite surprised actually to see you, because I was under the impression that women are barred from even being a leader in spiritual life.
No, that's totally fine.
Okay,
That's
so it was
totally fine.
a misconception of mine. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's no distinction.
No distinction. Yeah, I can see yourself. You are wearing saffron clothes, so you must be a Goswamini.
Sure.
Okay. So Vivarta Acharya, Revered Vivarta Acharya, would you like to perhaps tell us in your own right, is this knowledge that you are, I think you are people from, you from the Shankaracharya school, huh?
Yes.
Which is definitely, everyone knows. I have great respect for him also. So please tell us, what is your view, according to Shankar and even your own practice, you've been practicing for decades, most probably. What is the last word in spiritual understanding?
The last word in spiritual understanding is Advaita, that is non-duality. It is like what the Upanishad says, Ekameva Advityam Brahma. Brahman is non-dual. So that is the last word I would say. That ultimately we need to shed off all the dualities of this material world and understand that non-dual absolute truth. It's non-different.
I see.
Everything.
So let me try to grasp it properly. Brahman is non-dual, you said, and it represents the absolute truth. It is, what else did you say? It's non-dual. What else?
It is basically separate from whatever we perceive in this material world. Like in material world, we perceive of dualities, so like heat, cold, pain, distress. So when we negate all these dualities of this material world, we reach to a state of consciousness, which is non-dual, which is a pure consciousness.
I see. So if I understood properly, you're saying if we negate all dualities within this world, we will come to a stage within ourselves of non-duality, which is, are you equaling, are you equaling this to realization once you are beyond dualities? This is self-realization?
Yeah, this is the ultimate aspect of self-realization. There
I
is a
see.
gradual process to attain it. Not everyone can attain that. Everyone has their own adhikar. Depending on that, they may perceive the reality in different ways. But
I see.
our absolute standpoint, ultimate reality is Brahman, which is a non-dual duality, non-dual consciousness that we
Okay.
all are.
And what would you, my dear Vivarta Acharya, what would you recommend as a process to come to this non-dual type of consciousness? What should I do? I mean, as a layman, personally, I'm quite materialistic by all means, but still I have a, I guess many of our viewers here are also in the same category, just working and raising families. But what should they do on a daily basis to come to self-enlightenment?
Process is we need to practice sadhana. Like sadhana can be a fourfold process. Like first of all, we need to have a vivek, what we call as discrimination. We need to understand what is satya and what is asatya, what is true and what is false. If we can able to differentiate the reality from the falsehood, that is the first step. It is viveka buddhi, what we call. Even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says the same thing, that we are not this body, but we are the eternal soul. So when we understand that we are not this body, that is the first step by which we can discriminate the spiritual truth from the anything which is apart from spiritual. That is the first step. Second would be to practice renunciation, vairagya, to follow the process by which we don't entangle ourselves in fruitive activities. We should follow the process of nivritti marga, by which we can favorably come close to attain that particular state of non-dual consciousness. And practically, we need to also have the various process. Like we can have some people can follow practice of bhakti. Some people can follow the practice of jnana. Some people may follow the practice of karma. So there are many paths depending on the adhikar of the individual, depending on inclination of the individual. But ultimately, we need to understand that we need to come to the point of understanding that the ultimate reality is Brahman.
The ultimate reality is what?
Brahman, non-dual reality, absolutely.
Yeah, non-dual. So if I rephrase, my dear revered Maharaj, if I rephrase what you said, we should transcend dualities, and through the process of neti, that is differentiation between what is matter, what is spirit, we should come to a level of basically being not being influenced by this matter. But I mean, is that what you're saying basically? It comes to the level of transcendence, and you mentioned also at tatomat yatopat, any path is fine. You can take up gyan, bhakti for that matter. I really got you, and I understand to some extent, but I'd like to hear now the Vaishnavas. ISKCON is well famous worldwide, and I can see we have 3 representatives here. So please welcome to all of you. I would like to hear from this respected lady. She is quite obviously mature. Can you please tell us, Golokananda Priya Mataji, in response to what Acharya said, what is your view? Because it seems to me he's trying to pave the way towards Bhakti. He's saying, well, Bhakti is fine. So it's non-exclusive. It's not non-exclusive approach, which I really like that. What would you say, Mataji, to this?
Well, it's saying non-dual, saying, duality exists, but according to Bhagavad Gita, we accept duality. At the same time, we know how to get rid of duality, is by adopting the process of devotional service. We didn't negate, say, okay, this world is just false. Everything is false only by becoming, one with God. We can get free from all these, duality. So Srila Prabhupada, in his book, he said that Krishna is a proprietor, is a, aham sarvasya prabhava mata sarvam pavateti, I'm the source of both material and spiritual world. Everything emanates from me. So since everything belong to the Lord, we don't negate anything. We accept both, the good and the bad, and everything from Krishna. Everything that exists in this world is Krishna's energy. Krishna's energy, if you transform it, by the process of devotional service, by surrendering to Krishna and adopting the path of bhakti, one can transcend this duality. Like in Bhagavad Gita, it says, Prakriti Kimyamanani Guna Karma Sarvasa Ahankara Vimudatma. One
Yes.
can,
Okay. Thank you so much for your input. It seems to me that this Vivartacharya has opened a new vista because he has paved the way towards you people, Bhakti. Bhakti means definitely the personal approach. And he's even advocating that, yes, we can practice Bhakti. So aren't you happy with that, Gulakananda Priya? Because it seems to me this very, great
actually,
soul
the
is
path of bhakti that
moving
is
towards
mentioned
you.
is bhakti toward whom? I didn't understand whom he's applying the bhakti to. Is it to himself, or to the soul only,
Okay.
or to the super soul?
Okay. So let's hear from perhaps Vivartacharya Maharaj himself in reply to her query. Are you referring to Bhakti? Bhakti means devotional service. So what do you mean by Bhakti?
I would like to first respond to a couple of points that she has mentioned before coming to this point of bhakti, because it is very important to understand the principles of Advaita Vedanta before coming to any conclusions, especially on the process of sadhana. Otherwise, it could be very confusing. Exactly what is the absolute reality? Like first point that she mentioned is that we are considered the world is not real, or we consider that we are one with God. Now, there is a substance to this because the Vedanta talks about this. Now, I will not like to quote Upanishad, but I like to quote the very revered Puran that Vaisnavas often quote, especially Gaudiya Vaisnavas, that is Bhagavad Puran. So, Bhagavad Puran itself makes the point that this world is not real. It is like a dream. So, if you just see the verse 10.14.22, it says, Tasmat idam jagat asesham asat sarupam swapnabham. It says the world is asat sarupam. It's like a dream, swapnabham. The world is not real. It's like uh, an illusion that we consider it to be real. So it's not like just a concept of Advaita Vedanta that world is unreal, but it is also the fact mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Second point I would like to make is regarding the oneness that she also commented on, that we consider that we are one with the God. That point is very well mentioned in the Upanishads. Like there is a famous Upanishad verse which says, Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, Jiva Brahma Evana Aparaha. This is a verse from Niralamba Upanishad which says that Brahma is the only reality, Brahman is the Satya, but all other reality like Jagat and Jiva is Mithya. There is no difference. Jiva Brahma Evana Aparaha. There is no difference between the Jiva and Brahma. This fact is very well a Vedic conception that we have been talking about, and not something exclusive to Advaita Vedanta. So these are the 2 points which I just wanted to respond based on these 2 points of oneness of the Jiva with the God and the concept of this world being unreal. Now coming to the point of the sadhana, the bhakti process. Now there's a concept of different levels of reality that we need to understand. No, that is from the absolute standpoint, that is the Paramarthika Satya, where it is understood that everything is Brahman. No, ultimate object, ultimate reality is Nirguna Brahma. But not everyone can follow that process. Not, it's very difficult. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita that there is klesha adiktara, teso avyakta asaktina. Those who are attached to avyakta, unmanifest Nirguna Brahma, for them process is quite difficult because we all are embodied souls. So not everyone can follow the process of Nirguna Brahma. But on empirical level of reality, we have Vyavaharik Satya, and that is the concept of Saguna Brahman. So when we Advaita Vedantins follow the process of bhakti, we don't just worship the Nirguna Brahma, because Nirguna Brahma is without qualities, it is attributeless. There is no difference between the object of worship and the worshipper when it comes to Advaita. Only when we worship with form, there's a concept of difference that arises, because there is a difference between the worshipper and the worship. So when we talk about bhakti as a process of sadhana to ultimately attain the Advaita or a non-dual Brahman, it is for a few people who are more emotionally oriented. And for them to engage in the process of sadhana, we use the concept of bhakti. Now, this is basically to understand that this bhakti is oriented towards a saguna form, a manifest form of Brahman, which is Ishvara. Like we can worship Rama, we can worship Krishna, we can worship Ganesh, we can worship Durga. There are various forms of Saguna Brahman, the various manifestations of Saguna Brahman. So depending on the inclination of the individual, we can worship in accordance. In this way, it's a very inclusive approach. No, we don't say, okay, only worship Lord Vishnu. No, don't worship Lord Shiva. We don't say only worship Lord Durga. So we are very inclusive in the approach. We understand that everyone has their own inclination. So we want everyone to progress in the spiritual journey. And that's why we have the process of Panchayatana worship, where we worship the 5 deities.
Yeah.
As given by Adi Shankaracharya.
The philosophized Vishnu.
So there is a very all-inclusive approach, which includes bhakti.
I'm just going to take a little, I have to excuse myself, but I will let this very nice couple from Vaishnav background from America interface with you, Maharaj. I'll be right back. Please, Jacob, it's your turn.
Okay, so thank you for your points. Before I begin, I did just want to define and come to an agreement on what actually are valid sources of information for the purposes of our debate. We propose that the ancient texts in the canon of Vedic literature, which are considered Shruti, be accepted as authoritative. Do you agree? Can't hear you.
Oh, okay. No, not yet.
Still nothing.
Maybe we have to wait for Madhavendra Prabhu.
For Vignesh, can you try putting your headphones back on? Because we could hear you then.
I think we have to wait. It happens. Not unusual.
Yeah, we can.
Look, I told you.
You can hear me now.
Okay, so I'll restate
we didn't get that far because the audio turned itself off on Vignesh, so you didn't
mean
miss
the audio?
anything.
What do you mean the audio?
We couldn't hear Vignesh.
Disconnected until you came back, so you didn't miss anything. Just the question by Jacob.
Okay. So I want to hear, because Vivatacharya is obviously very lofty, but I want to I mean, personally, I'm neutral. But I'd like to hear the version of this nice couple from America. They are also practitioners of ISKCON Krishna consciousness. So please try to keep in mind what he said. This Maharaj has mentioned that he drew a distinction between Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman.
So in response, first we would like to establish, Maharaj, where do you draw your authority from? And we, for the purposes of this debate, would like to propose that we draw our authority and ultimate understanding from the class of Vedic literature, which is under the umbrella of Shruti, or divinely revealed wisdom. Maharaj, do you accept that these texts are indeed authoritative?
Yes, I accept that Shruti is the ancient part of the Vedas and it is indeed authoritative, and that is our testimony. That is a praman, one of the praman that we accept.
Great. So for we
I also just to interrupt, I would also like to add a point that there are three sections that we accept. One is Shruti Prasthana, which is the Upanishads and the Vedas. Other is Smriti Prasthana, which includes the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the primary Smriti, and which is revered by all the Vedic acharyas. And last would be Nyaya Prasthana, which is a Brahma Sutra, which is the final Vedanta, the compilation of Vedavyas, compiling all the Upanishadic contradictions. So all the Shruti, Smriti, and Nyaya Prasthana is accepted by us as a Prasthana Trayi.
For the purposes of our position, we would like to narrow in on two texts, two Upanishads, both Gita Upanishad and Sri Isha Upanishad. Sri Isha Upanishad being part of the Yajurveda, and Gita Upanishad being, in our view, the words of Sri Krishna. Do you accept both of these texts as authoritative?
Yes.
So before we begin, we also would like to define what it is we are referring to as the absolute truth, what it is we mean when we say the word God. We, for the purposes of this debate, when we are referring to the word God, we are referring to a being which meets the following criteria. This being must be omnipotent, or all-powerful. He must be omnibenevolent, or all-good. And lastly, he must be omniscient, or all-knowing. We are arguing that this idea that God is an impersonal energy and that the last and ultimate reality is ultimately non-dual is actually misunderstanding. And we, with all due respect, we draw our authority from the texts which I have mentioned, Sri Isha Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita. We also, if we refer to the Bhagavad Purana, we can also see that actually the absolute truth is manifest in three different ways: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And we propose that the understanding that Brahman is the ultimate reality is a misunderstanding of these fundamental categories of reality. And in response to the idea that the last and ultimate reality is Brahman, we would like to draw from the authority of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 14, verse 27, Krishna declares Brahman to be subordinate to him. He says, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. We are directly understanding what Krishna is saying here as being that he is the basis of Brahman, and we are accepting the authority simply based on what is being said. We also, in Bhagavad Gita, which you've accepted as an authoritative text, we find chapter 2, verse 12, we find a verse that says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Krishna here is affirming his individuality and our individuality, both in past and in the future. This implies continuity of the soul, and it therefore implies eternal individuality. We also have more evidence for this claim again from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 24. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can neither be burned nor dried. He is everlasting, all-pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. All of these qualifications of the atomic particle soul prove that the individual soul is eternally this atomic particle of the spirit whole, and he remains the same atom eternally and without change. All of these facts point towards the idea that actually we retain our individuality eternally. And this is stated in no uncertain language by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, which you have accepted, Maharaj, as authoritative.
Okay, so I really appreciate your contributions to all of you. I'm, again, being a layman, I would like to know about the practice, because you both parties are talking about advanced philosophy, which is well and good, but I would like to go back to Vivarta Acharya, and you didn't tell us precisely what are we supposed to do. You told us neti neti, this is not spirit, this is matter. We have to distinguish, we have to differentiate. Yes, but I mean, for a simple fellow like me and so many millions of people, what should we do to advance spiritually in this world? We are working jobs, commuting back and forth. What should we do? We cannot just leave everything and become a sannyasi like you. First, we don't have the adhikar. What should we do to become spiritually strong? So this is my next question to both parties. I will turn first to Vivarta Acharya, because obviously he's very, famous and by far the most knowledgeable and aged also. What would you say, Maharaj? What should we do to become steeped in this wisdom that you are promulgating? What should we do? That's the key question, because otherwise it remains just, nebulous. It's just philosophy. But we have to make sure humanity advances towards that goal. So what should they do on a regular basis?
Again, we can turn to Bhagavad Gita. Krishna talks about Jnana Yoga, Krishna talks about Karma Yoga, Krishna talks about Bhakti Yoga. Now, for a neophyte devotee, Jnana Yoga is difficult. Now, if you want to engage the spiritual interest in day-to-day activities, then you can practice a Bhakti mark. Like we don't, as I earlier said, we don't reject Bhakti. Bhakti is in fact a step to ultimately reach the point of Advaita, Vedanta. So when it comes to Bhakti, the process of worshipping the idol, process of worshipping any deity, any particular form that one desires, it may be Ishta Devata. Like I may have some other Ishta Devata which I would like to worship. I can worship. There is a process of Shravanam, what we call in Bhakti as Navavida Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. All these processes are indeed valid. We don't reject anything. So Bhakti mark is also a valid path, depending on the adhikar. So Krishna talks about this in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna also talks about Karma Yoga. Who cannot practice Bhakti, they can do all the activities as an offering. Krishna in one point in Bhagavad Gita says, Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir. So he talks about that everything is Brahman. So whatever we do, we should offer it to Brahman. We are Brahman and we should offer it to Brahman. So when we do it as an act of offering, as service, then this can also be a process of bhakti. So we don't reject any of the things. Depending on inclination, some people can practice pure Jnana mark, or some can practice pure Bhakti mark, and some can do a process of Karma mark. So all these paths are open depending on the individual
nature. Yeah. So from what from what I can gather from your talk, Maharaj, how would you ascertain? Because I really appreciate you quote. It seems to me you are quite, in some way, you are also Vaishnav because you tend to like Krishna. You quote Krishna, you Gita. How would you then position Krishna in all this just in all this diasporama? How would you position Krishna? Is he subservient to any higher authority? Because you quote him a lot. You're talking about Brahman. Brahman pervades everything. You talk about Saguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman. So who is Krishna after all? Because it seems to me that the other party, this very nice couple, they tend to rest their faith and their demeanor towards this personality of called Krishna. But it seems to me again that you guys don't put him on the same pedestal. So I think this is the point of contention here, because in essence, I'm listening to both parties, and it seems to me that you are converging towards the same goal, but it looks like you are appreciating Lord Krishna differently. So first I will, because now it's their turn, I will turn to this Sorel. She seems like a very nice lady and very equipoised and silent, but I'm sure she has a lot to say also. Could you please tell us, dear Sorel, who is Krishna? Are you talking about the same Krishna that this great soul, Vivartacharya, is referring to?
No, we are not talking about the same Krishna, because for us, Krishna is, he is a person, and we are not trying to merge with him, or we are, even when we're trying to reach Godhead, we are still remaining in ourselves. We are still our own soul. So we are part and parcel of Krishna. We are achinta beta beta tattva. So there's still that one indifference, rather than it seems like Maharaj over here is talking as if we will just become one, and there's this all-pervading oneness, which we do see Brahman, but there's also the Paramatma, which is Krishna of the heart, or God of the heart, the super soul. And then even beyond that is the Bhagavan realization. So Krishna is a triple God.
Okay. You mentioned, I can see you're very conversant with Sanskrit, and you mentioned something, I couldn't catch it. Achintya something, it went too fast for me. You please define it for the sake of the audience, because we are dealing with any Tom, Dick, and Harry here. They're not familiar with Sanskrit at all.
I was saying that we are one and different. So rather than us all being God, we have parts of him. We are part and parcel of him, but we are still different. So we come from him. He is the source. We are not the source. He is the source.
I see. Okay, so that's clear. That's really a crystal clear explanation. Maharaj, Vivartacharya Maharaj, do you agree with that? Obviously, they tend to, if I understood properly, they tend to consider that Lord Krishna is the supreme. Does it ring a bell with you, or how do you stand on this one?
See, first of all, we need to understand the concept of definition of what is Saguna Brahman and what is Nirguna Brahman. Without that, it is very difficult to
okay, please tell us.
Understand the position of Lord Krishna or any devatas for that matter. So, our Param Guru Adi Shankaracharya says that Brahman is Nirguna, but when it works through the agent of Maya, its illusionary power, it becomes a Saguna Brahman or Ishvara. So both the Jiva as well as Ishvara have upadhis. Like earlier we said, I think someone has described that Brahman has qualities like omniscience, omnipotence. Now this is basically upadhi. No, Brahman is attributeless. It doesn't have any qualities. To say that Brahman is omniscient or omnipotent is basically a superimposition of our material attributes onto him. Now, this is basically, we consider Krishna as Saguna Brahman, a manifestation of Brahman. I will just say maybe Brahman is Nirguna. When we add the illusionary power of Maya or potency of Vidya, basically Maya has two potency of Vidya and Avidya. And Brahman works with the potency of Maya called Vidya, it becomes a Saguna Brahman. And when the Brahman works with the potency of Maya called Avidya, it becomes a Jiva. Ultimately, Ishvara and Jiva both have upadhis. They are the manifestations of Saguna Brahman. So Krishna or for that matter any Devata is a manifestation of Saguna Brahman. So this is the concept position that we maintain. Ultimately, we should understand that just by saying that Saguna Brahman, we don't say that Krishna comes under the control of Maya. No, I don't say that. No, Vedas and Upanishads also clearly says that, especially if we consider Shvetapatara Upanishad, it says, Mayam tu Prakritim, Mainam tu Maheshwaram. It says that Prakriti is Maya, but the Mainam, that one is the controller of Maya, is Maheshwar. Krishna is the controller of the Maya. He doesn't come under the control of Maya. Okay, but at the same time, he has a upadhi, of omniscience, upadhi of wealth, fame, knowledge. All these are upadhis. However, he is not called by Vidya. It is a potency of Vidya. At will, he can become Nirguna Brahman. At will, he can become Saguna Brahman. So, in that sense, Krishna is definitely supreme, but he is an expression, a manifestation of Saguna Brahman. But he's above the Maya. He can control the Maya. He's not under Maya, unlike Jivas.
So, if I understood properly, Krishna is an offshoot of Saguna Brahman, and Lord Krishna is Krishna is an offshoot of Saguna Brahman, and the Jiv is what?
Jiva is also, basically there is no existence of Jiva. As per Advaita Vedanta, the Jiva Bhav is an illusion, it's a mithya. To understand that Jiva exists in reality is a mithya. So as we gradually progress to the path of spiritual development, we understand that ultimately we are Atma. Like we understand that there are three bhavas. The Sharira Bhav, when we consider we are body, we are not the soul, that is Sharira Bhav.
I lost you. Aretoshan? You don't use the internet. Huh?
It becomes a Jiva.
I can see that Vignesh Maharaj Vignesh is not giving a direct answer to the question. He is putting so much philosophical point.
Okay, let's begin to an end here. You have to be more forceful, more, it's called a lot of verbiage. Okay, you have to understand what he's saying, but now you should be forceful and shastric. We went through, I'm thinking of the first verse of the Shresho. Om Purnam. You cannot just digress unlimitedly. He's good at that. Definitely is very good at that. So he's going to basically make you dull and numb by his verbiage. So you have to cut through the thickness of that verbiage. And you have to be heavy, loaded with Shastra. So what would you say now?
He's bringing everything. He's saying that, okay, we accept Krishna as Saguna Brahman. I mean, he has all the qualities, good qualities of Saguna, but he's not mentioning, saying in his discussion that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. Like he's not quoting from Srimad Bhagavad Gita that Krishna said he's the source of everything come from me.
But you have to dismantle his point. first of all, you have to understand his claim. His claim is Saguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman. So you have to explain that. And then he hinted at the fact that Jiv is equal to Brahman. Isn't it right, Vignesh?
He's not around.
Is he here?
No.
So you have to really address in details and dismantle what it says in details. This Saguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, okay, explain that. Of course, it may be beyond the course. It's quite equipped, huh, Vignesh? I know it's beyond the course, but and you have also to dismantle the fact that I think he gave the point that Jiv is, there's no difference between Jiv and Brahman, basically. That's what he said. Didn't you say that, Vignesh?
Yes, I quoted a verse from Nilalamba Upanishad, which is also quoted by Adi Shankaracharya. This says, Jagat Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, Jiva Brahma na aparaha. Jiva and Brahma, there is no difference. So it is a verse from the Shruti, which is accepted by all the Vedic acharyas.
Yeah. So this is the point of contention. You have to get into that. You want to intervene, Jacob or Sorel, before I do?
Yes, absolutely. Maharaj, it seems to me that you are picking and choosing verses which you are using for your to draw authority from for your statements. If we look to very simply to Sri Upanishad mantra 1, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Isavasyamidam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tiena Taktena Bunjita Magridha Kashasvidanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. How can an impersonal energy control or own anything? Further, we look in the same text, Sri Upanishad mantra 15, we can, and 16 for that matter, we can see that the devotee who is praying, he prays to the Lord to remove his external covering. And if we are one with Brahman, why do we need to pray to something external to remove his covering? This makes no sense, Maharaj. And it seems to me that the verses that you are quoting, you blatantly ignore verses which state the contrary to your position. I also would like to introduce a piece of just logical argument with the core of your philosophy, which is that Brahman is pure and distinctionless. And if that is true, then the claim that the world is an illusion presupposes that there is a distinction between illusion and reality. And just as a claim that that something is a dream presupposes a distinction between waking consciousness and dream consciousness. Moreover, this impersonal idea of salvation, that is that enlightenment through recognition that all is Brahman, presupposes a distinction between living in a state of unenlightenment and living in a state of enlightenment. This view is contradictory. And on one hand, you're saying that reality is Brahman or distinctionless. And on the other hand, you're saying that, Maya and the truth, that there's another reality, which is Maya. Would you like to respond?
Yes, I think you quoted the verse from Ishopanishad. I would just like to quote the same verse. A verse prior to that, if you consider the verse from mantra 16, it says, "You aso purushaha, so aham asmi." It basically says that one which is there, the personality in the sun, is I am, aham asmi. So basically, it equates the Atman with the Brahman. So this is one of the points which I would like to make. There are innumerable references in the Upanishads, in the Vedas, which talks about the non-difference between the Jiva and the Brahman. At the same time, I do agree that there are also other verses which talks about the difference, which talks about that we are the servants of the Supreme Lord and we are different from the Lord. So is this a contradiction? No, not at all. Because when I'm quoting the verse stating non-distinction, it is also from the Vedas. And when you are quoting from a verse stating a difference, it is also from the Vedas. So we need to understand the proper perspective, how to reconcile such contradictions. So when it comes to, as I rightly said, when it comes to process where we understand that I am a jiva, I am a servant, and Lord is the master, and it's a servant. that conception is based from the Jiva Bhava. So when we act as a servant and Lord as a master, that Lord is expression, a manifestation of Saguna Brahman, as I told. Because when it comes to Nirguna Brahman, which is attributeless, there is no distinction between the worshipper and the worship. There cannot be. If you say there is a difference between the worshipper and the worship, then that becomes a duality. No, so when we talk about the distinction, we normally consider it from the point of empirical level of reality, which is a Vyavharik truth. It is not absolute reality. On absolute sense, there is no difference. It is completely non-dual. We cannot ignore the verse from the Veda which says Ekam eva Dvityam Brahma. So there is only one reality. But when we talk on the level of difference, it is basically bhakti that we employ towards one of the manifestation of Saguna Brahman.
Okay.
There are both the verses supporting either of the things, but we need to understand the absolute reality from the absolute point of view and not just from the empirical reality.
Okay, so now do you understand basically where you have to hit the nail, Jacob and Sorel and also Golokananda Priya? See, he's always, you have to, basically it's like you have to understand his mind, where he's going at. And he's always referring to this, the crux of the matter, Sagunan Brahman, Nirguna Brahman. So he's saying within Saguna Brahman, yes, there is, we can accommodate everything, but ultimately everything is Nirgun Brahman. So this is exactly where you have to hit. You explain here the position of, you can explain, I guess, of course, it's a bit beyond, we discussed in the Shri show, Sagun and Nirgun, remember? We discussed that Krishna can reverse matter and spirit at will. The verse is there. We discussed in 4-5, I think.
Yes.
Do you want to answer, Jacob or Sorel?
I mean,
Because he's hiding behind these two things, and Sagun and Nirgun Brahman.
Okay, Sagun. I don't know how to hit that.
Okay, so I guess I have to get into it then.
Because my only thing when I went back and I reviewed those two, the main point that I was coming up with was, why would the Lord's personal features be so greatly described if it weren't to express that God is an absolute person? But I don't think that's hitting the Nirgun or something.
Yeah, because he's very slicky, you know.
Yeah.
He's playing very well the role of an impersonalist. He's very slicky. This impersonalists are slicky. He is expert at playing at that. I knew it, but he's very expert. So
I guess my question is, if Brahman is distinctionless, then how is there any form of Brahman with qualities? Sarguna and Brahman.
Vignesh?
Yeah, as I told, we need to understand the levels of reality. Now, Saguna Brahman is just a conception that we have. Ultimate level, it's Nirguna Brahman. When you talk about from the absolute reality, just a Nirguna Brahman, there is no conception of Saguna Brahman. But yes, for the functioning of the universe, there is a concept of Vishnu, the maintainer, the Brahma, the creator, the Shiva, the destroyer. All these are required for the functioning of the universe, which is an expression of Saguna Brahman. Now, ultimately, this world is an illusion. So when we project or superimpose our conception on the Nirguna Brahman, that is like a covering of Maya. And only then we differentiate between Jiva and Brahma. But that Saguna Brahman is a form. Like it can be Ram, it can be Krishna, it can be anyone. So all these are devatas. No? They all have their individual duties. They have their duties designated for the working of the universe. But ultimately, all these names and forms only limit the all-pervasiveness of the Brahman. The Brahman is what Upanishad says, Sarvam Khalvaidam Brahma. when we say Brahman is all pervading, and if you limit the Brahman with the name and forms of the devatas and various other forms of gods, then we're restricting the Brahma, which is not the case. So Brahman is all pervading. So when we superimpose our conception of names and forms on Brahman, that is actually illusion. Actually, in reality, there is no concept of Saguna Brahman. It's only from the empirical level of reality that we superimpose this conception. But the ultimate level is only Nirguna Brahman, which is the only truth. Ekam Sat.
Krishna is always a person. He's not Saguna. He's always Nirguna. Because this is a supremacy of the Supreme Person. Although he comes within this material world, he incarnate in incarnation, is not affected by these material qualities. He becomes in this material world, he doesn't become controlled by this material nature. Because also it is said in Brahma Samhita that Krishna is the supreme controller, Isvara Parama Krishna. He is never Saguna, he's always Nirguna, and he's the controller of all the energies, both Maya, Saguna and Nirguna. And we should not mistake that Krishna, Krishna, like this is a supreme personality of God. Mistake is that he is affected when he come in contact with this material energy. We cannot compare the living entities and Krishna, as the same. And also it said Krishna is beyond, is adoksaja, is beyond this material speculation and beyond the reach of our thinking. Krishna is always nirguna in any condition, any circumstances. But people, unfortunately, they always think that, and so our Srila Prabhupada mentioned, and Bhagavad Gita also mentioned, and the avajananti mamuda, manusing like we think because Krishna, as a God, that you don't accept, you say everything is nirguna, and we don't see Krishna say that because Krishna come and he said Abhijantanima, because Krishna incarnate and come, we think that he's Buddha, we think that Krishna is also one of us. This is not the fact. Saguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, we should distinguish that Krishna is always Nirguna Brahman, but we are Saguna Brahman. Living entities, we are Saguna Brahman. We are Brahman, but we are not Param Brahman. Krishna is Param Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. And we are subjected, we are prone to be covered by material qualities, Therefore, these qualities is not, Krishna is never covered by these qualities. So, and Krishna is not Nirguna, is always Saguna.
And just to add to your point, Golokananda Priya, if Krishna is Sarguna, then he is on an equal platform with Jeev, and therefore Bhagavad Gita in its entirety would not be an authoritative text. Why should we, and what you've claimed earlier in our discussion, that you accept Bhagavad Gita to be authoritative. And so if Krishna is on the same platform as an ordinary living entity, then what does his testimony, what validity does his testimony have?
Anyway, I don't want to take, we are already way beyond time, and it's 35 minutes extra. But you can see it's not easy in one sense. I know it's the first book. We'll do that perhaps again at the end of the Gita. You'll be more equipped. But all this to say that they're very slicky. And you have to discern exactly the way, the faulty part of the thing. But it's a very slicky. They always back up with Shastra and all. It's like you try to catch a snake. It will slip out of your hand. So I can see, even though we are Vaishnavas, it was not a clear-cut winning. So you have to become more equipped. Of course, Vignesh is himself quite loaded. But I will gladly take him in if he wants, but I don't want to take extra time now. I feel bad. It's way beyond. But I mean, Vignesh is doing his part well, no doubt. No doubt. So Prabhupada would play like this. He would play the part of the Mayavadi and he would win over the Vaishnavas. Can you imagine? He would play the part of Vaishnava. He wins over. Mahaprabhu would do the same.
That's because English.
Mahaprabhu would defeat his own points. Up and down. So this is the proof. It's in one sense, it's quite revealing. You're not sufficiently equipped. You are doing good stuff, but Vignesh at the end should say, okay, I got, thank you. But you won't admit in one sense. Mayavadis will never admit. But you have to be more forceful. I don't want to do it now. I've got all the quotes here, but I don't want to take extra time. Already we are way beyond time. But see, this is important to not beat around the bush. Exactly, you have to make the point. Here you have to dismantle Nirgun Brahman and Saguna Brahman. Basically, there's one aphorism, Sa Ekshata. Sa Ekshata means he glances upon the material nature. This removes all doubts regarding the Lord's inconceivable potency. By his will, the potency manifests through Sa Ekshata, it manifests Maya Shakti, it manifests Jiv Shakti and Chit Shakti. So Shakti Matayo Abeda is non-different from the Shaktis, but is also different. Goloka Nivasati Akilatma Bhuta. And you have to go in this direction. Maharaj was saying, Vignesh was saying, yes, everything is one. The worshipper, the worshipped, remember he said that. The worshipper is one, the worshipped is one. And you say, yes, you're right, my dear Maharaj. On the platform of pure bhakti, yes, in the spiritual world, there is no difference. You can see the bhaktas are practically climbing on the shoulder of Krishna. So on the realm of pure love, yes, there's no difference. Everything is one in terms of love, just like Mantra 7, Sri Sho. In terms of serving the interest of the family, everything is one. Yet we remain individuals, just like a green tree merging into a green foliage, a green bird merging green foliage of a green tree. It remains individual, even in the platform of pure love in the spiritual world. Yes, there's no difference between Krishna. We are all one in love. It doesn't mean we become Krishna. So you have to get into the nitty-gritty of that. Achintya bed abed. And in the Vedic statements, everything is reconciled. Naham manye. Naham manye means the Lord's inconceivable energy has been established. Then you find two approaches. Dwa suparna, it says in the Vedas. Eternal difference within Brahman. But it says also Tattvamasi. Everything is one. So both approaches are there. But Krishna is behind. Krishna says in the Gita, Brahmano, what does he say? I'm the one to be known behind the Vedas. I'm the one who knows the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas is to know me. So my dear Maharaj, Krishna is lying. Why do you interpret? You don't need to resort to interpretation when it's crystal clear, straightforward meaning. If you want to screw out another meaning, it's perhaps you may be ill-intentioned. Why do you want to add up on Krishna's words? You have to enter into him. You have to really confront him. You know, why don't you accept Krishna as it is, as he is? What do you interpret? Anyway, I don't want to take your time now, but he gets me going, Vignesh, you know. He gets me going, this guy. He's good. The guy is good.
Yeah, he keep on telling that Krishna is in the category of Saguna Brahman.
And Saguna Brahman, you have to take what it takes. Saguna
Yeah,
Brahman,
yeah.
it's mentioned in the 12th chapter of the Gita. Saguna Brahman means he's going to use material qualities, material ingredients to manufacture a deity. Deity is made of marble. This is Saguna Brahman. But remember, Krishna is Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta Kshetragya Tataparam. So is Vishnu Shakti, he can convert the inert into spirit and vice versa. So as soon as the deity is Saguna Brahman, okay, it's marble and whatnot, but if it is installed by pure devotees, if it is meant to, it's not different from Krishna, it's Acha Vigraha. So then it is there for spiritual dovetailing purpose, then it becomes spiritual. There's no difference for Krishna between material and spiritual. Anyway, Nirgun Brahman means basically it's beyond material qualities. Doesn't mean he has no spiritual qualities. He's not accessible through material qualities. That's true. Like you said, Mataji, Adokshaja, Aporushaya is beyond the reach of the human intellect. But he is endowed with the 64 qualities of Lord Krishna. You tell him, Vignesh, 64 qualities of Lord Krishna. He's got 64 qualities. So on the platform of pure love, yes, everything is apparently there's no difference between bhakti, bhakta, bhokta, but still there's a difference. Doesn't mean because you serve Krishna exclusively that you have become God. You remain a Jiv, remain Tatashta Shakti. Anyway, all this to say the conclusion is you're not fully ready. I can see. Not, which is good, which is fine. It is the first book. If we do that at the end of the 4 books, you should be able to flatten Vignesh. Even though it's quite good, it's very good. Vignesh is beyond Bhakti Shastri. One time I was there, can you imagine? Long back, 30 years ago, there was one sadhu, ISKCON sadhu, and he played the same debate against Jayavita Maharaj. You know Jayavita Maharaj? He's not a small boy. And he got defeated by the other fellow. His name was, forgetting his name. Then he left ISKCON, he created Jiva Institute in Vrindavan, forgetting his name. He defeated Jayavita Maharaj. So slicky.
They use so much word juggery, into the Vedas again.
Yeah. So this is called verbiage, but you have to confront them. You have to blast them, basically. Shastrically speaking.
The thing is that
also, yeah.
he got to go again and again and again and again. Then
So what
put
our it's not easy. I agree. It's not easy, but
we cannot interrupt.
They will never admit in one sense. Even if they are defeated, they will never admit. Vignesh, you wanted to say something?
I was just referring to one of the verse, I don't remember, but in Uddhava Gita or Bhagavad Puran, Krishna says, ultimately all logicians can prove their point, to prove their philosophy. And it, like, suppose if the Mayavada wins the debate, that doesn't mean that he was right. It's just how expert we are in putting up logic and putting up the points. So ultimately all philosophies can be proved wrong and can be proved right.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It's very difficult to do debate and understand the absolute reality.
Ramanuj himself, can you imagine? Ramanuj, 1,000 years ago, he had a debate and he could not defeat the guy. And he went to pray to his Ishtadev. I'm forgetting the name of his Ishtadev. And it's only by the grace of the Ishtadev that the next morning, the fellow surrendered to Ramanuj. Mayavadi Basha Shunile I Savanash, we shouldn't even hear the commentaries. Anyway, all this to say that you have to become more sharper, I would say. But Vignesh is definitely beyond average. It's not easy.
Vignesh should be teaching this.
Huh?
Vignesh should be teaching this too.
No, but this is good. It's good that we have a fellow like this in the class. because it's conversant. This is conversant. Being conversant means both. You can take Prabhupada used to do that. Both teams, both schools, he can preach from both sides. Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So
Krishna.
we'll be prepared. I'm going to write an exam for next week. Actually, what's going to happen is I will give it to Chandra. It will be the vigil for that. So it's not
No.
difficult. Just stick to the manual and whatever we covered. I'm going to be very straightforward.
Is this an open book? Oh,
No, open book. You have to submit 2 essays. I've got two from Sorel, from Jacob, right? I got 2 from each of you. Huh? Then I got 1 from Gokulananda Priya. So you need to submit another one, and Vignesh has got 0. You know that, Vignesh, right?
Next week, yeah.
So now I'm talking about closed book. Next week, next Sunday, no book, nothing. Just a piece. You can write it. I mean, I would rather appreciate that you type it in. But I trust you, you are adults, don't open the book. I mean, you are cheating yourself,
So-
not me.
can you tell us, is that the whole Upanishad?
The all Sri Upanishad, definitely.
The whole, you're going to give like a
Yeah.
question on all.
On the
This
all
is the 18
yeah.
mantras.
But very
Okay.
straightforward, like common stuff, nothing fancy.
Is according to the manual?
Manual will help you, but
Yeah.
be aware of the analogies. Analogies are also quite good. And basically you be aware of the course and what we've been covering, and be aware of also of the joints of the course. Oftentimes I notice you're a little weak in situating where are we in the overview. You should have a full picture. Someone gave a nice, I think it was, I forgot who did it, but he gave a nice overall. I think it was Sukumari. She gave a nice overview. And be aware of the whole book. Where is it driving at? Okay, anyway, I'm sure you will do fine, don't worry. Any questions?
So we continue with the classes then on Bhagavad Gita in 2 weeks time with you then, or
Yeah,
what's the plan?
you're not doing the exam, are you?
No, that's why I'm asking.
So 2 weeks from now, I'll take over, and
Okay.
I'll do a little historical recap on the setting of the guitar, why the guitar, and I will go into Mahabharata a little bit to set up the scene.
Okay.
2 weeks from now. Next week, you'll have only the exam. Exam will take 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, something like that. But no books, nothing. Is there any questions?
Good luck, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, guys.
Okay. And Vignesh, I expect your exam, your essay, and Gokulananda Priya, perhaps the missing one as well. Huh?
One more essay? Okay.
Yeah, 2. Yeah. Hare Krishna, thanks a lot. Sorry to keep you waiting, but I wanted to see the debate. It was fun, actually. It was fun. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Bol. Have a nice week.
Mhm.